To the Face Mask Podcast, everybody. Now, this is going to be another one of those little shorter episodes we post up from time to time, so it probably won't be an hour long. And this is dedicated just to one specific team in the NFL, and that is going to be the New York Jets. Now, before I go ahead and break down everything about the New York Jets, if you guys are new here, we post NHL and NFL content, obviously in a podcast format, and we post a lot of shorts and stuff. If you're watching on the YouTube side, if you're watching on the Spotify side, make sure to rate us 5 out of 5 stars. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. So let's go ahead and talk about the New York Jets. So they should, basically the whole theory, the question of this video is, should they restart their rebuild? And when you think about that, restart their rebuild, what do you exactly mean by that? So I'm going to break that down real quick. So I'm talking about trading the actual star talent they have on their team right now, like Quincy Williams, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall. Just absolutely sell the team, essentially, get even younger players or get draft picks and stuff like that. So should the New York Jets do that? Giants, actually, I almost said them, but their rebuild's looking pretty good right now because they found their quarterback with Jackson Dart. So I would love to answer that with a yes or no question, but we really need to break everything down before we decide to do that, because the Jets, they do have a few talented people on their roster, obviously. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. Everyone thought Justin Fields would be solid, and he's not having a great start to the year for Justin Fields. It sucks. I had high hopes for him, but it's looking like he's just going to be a career backup, I guess. I don't know. So I guess I would say career backup. The New York Jets haven't made playoffs since 2010. That is the longest drought in the NFL. Longest drought in the NFL. Not in all of sports, because the Buffalo Sabres hold that with 14 years with not making playoffs. So let's, real quick, let's travel back in time and look at some of the notable things they've done in the offseason. See how lackluster their off seasons have been. So in 2012, they did nothing of significance besides sign Tim Tebow after his prime was already done. Even though his prime was only like a season long, he did have a pretty solid year with the Broncos. But then that's about it. And then 2013, they drafted Geno Smith. Geno Smith, unfortunately, has been a career backup basically his whole career till a few years in Seattle and now on the Raiders. And it's not looking good on the Raiders, unfortunately. So in 2015, they signed Brandon Marshall, Leonard Williams, they drafted Leonard Williams. So you think that would actually start to turn things around? Well, no, they still didn't make the playoffs, and, I think it's the quarterback situation there. Is like they didn't have a really solid quarterback. 2016, they signed Matt Forte. I love Matt Forte, but that's when he was kind of older in his career, so he didn't really do anything. I think he only did a year there. I think Matt Forte only did 1 year with the Jets, maybe 2. So what able to do there? 2017 is when they drafted Jamal Adams and Marcus May. So that's actually a pretty solid draft. You got 2 solid safeties. Now Jamal Adams he did fall off pretty hard, but when he was with the Jets, those first 3 years, he was pretty good. So Jamal Adams, and then they weren't able to do anything with that. Marcus May. 2018, they drafted Sam Darnold. Now Sam Darnold, It's hard. It's hard to say is the Jets' fault for giving up on Sam Darnold or not. Now, in theory, when you do think about it, technically they should have kept on to him longer, but they weren't seeing any good production at all with the time he was being there. So it's like, do you really blame him? Personally, they should have been a tad more patient. But 2018, they got Sam Darnold. He just didn't work out. 2019, they finally started to address their offensive line, getting Kelechi Osemele. He actually was a solid guard for a little bit for them. And then they got C.J. Mosley and Quinton Williams. Okay, not too bad. They're starting to do a little bit of things. And then 2020, they got Mekhi Becton, who was their best offensive lineman I think they've had in the past 10 years, probably. But they lost Mekhi Becton 2 off seasons ago, technically. So, didn't really stand tall, or didn't really stay long, I guess I should say. In 2021, they drafted Zach Wilson with the 3rd overall selection in the draft. Or second or third. Anyway, didn't really do great. Actually had a worse outing in New York than Sam Darnold did, and they give up on him pretty fast because in 2023, that's when they go and trade for Aaron Rodgers. They think, finally, we're getting a legend Aaron Rodgers in here. You know, his first year, he tore his Achilles within like 50 seconds of playing the Buffalo Bills. And then the next year, he did okay, but definitely wasn't good enough to make a playoff team. And then that's it. Aaron Rodgers only did 2 years with the New York Jets, and that's how it went. 2024, they got Tyrone Smith, and in 2025, they really did nothing besides get Justin Fields. So, if you look at all of this, yes, their roster has been weak since 2010 to 2025, but the massive, huge question mark on the field has been their quarterback. I mean, they go from Mark Sanchez to Tim Tebow to Geno Smith to Sam Darnold, and then I guess Josh McCown got a few starts in there, but as well. Then they go from Sam Darnold to Zach Wilson, and then to Justin Fields. Now, was Sam Darnold supposed to be a lot better? Yes. Was Zach Wilson supposed to be a lot better? Yes. And Justin Fields, even though he's already proven he's not quite what he was drafted to be, but still a decent player in the league, yes, he was supposed to be more. But I think it's all around. I don't think it's really those quarterbacks' faults at all. I mean, Zach Wilson, I guess, since he has proven not to be that great, even in a different situation. But now Tua has been so bad that even Zach Wilson is taking a few snaps because Tua can't even play that good anymore. So let's take a look. In Sam Darnold in 2019, this is one of the worst years he had. And he had 3,024 passing yards, 19 passing touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. I mean, so that was in 2019. That was the year after his rookie year. So you would like to see it up. When a quarterback reaches their second year, you normally are going to see a pretty big jump. And that's not a big jump at all. Now, should they have waited a little bit longer? Because they took Sam Darnold, and 3 years later, they took Zach Wilson. And then they only gave Zach Wilson 2 years, and then they signed Aaron Rodgers. Well, traded for Aaron Rodgers, technically. And then Zach Wilson, his stint with the New York Jets, I mean, that was just worse than Sam Darnold's, but I guess I'll read off this little stat for you, even though any football fan knows that Zach Wilson's time in New York was not pretty. Zach Wilson never reached double-digit touchdowns, ever in his time as a New York Jet. So, yeah, there's that for you. So, let's go back to the main question. It seems like the Jets should restart the rebuild. And yes, I know it's very demoralizing, especially when you hit on draft picks like Quincy Williams, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall. That is 5 hits. But the Jets have a problem of not being able to build an offensive line. Offensive line is very important in football. They cannot build an offensive line whatsoever. Do they have a second receiver other than Garrett Wilson? Not really. Breece Hall, do they have a second running back besides him? Braylon Allen, yes, but he's hurt. So now we're going to see what Isaiah Davis can do, the third string backup for the New York Jets. And then Justin Fields, you know, a lot of people are being like, hey, this is a younger quarterback who's never gotten fully to his potential, but we've seen a few solid years from him. So they were going to be like, this is actually best case scenario for the New York Jets. Well, it really wasn't, because he has been god-awful, and even the owner, Woody Johnson, was like, this guy needs to complete a pass. So if you asked me, when you start a rebuild, the quarterback is the most important position in football. Now, it doesn't get overrated when it comes to awards. Quarterback, yes, absolutely. I think it's stupid how an MVP they don't even consider running backs or receivers. I think it's stupid. But anyway, I digress. Quarterback is the most important position in football. I think everyone knows that. And you really can't have a solid team if you continue to have quarterback troubles. I think what the New York Jets should do here is maybe try to keep Sauce Gardner if you can. I don't know how happy he's going to be that your team keeps losing, but I would address this quarterback situation this offseason. And no matter what, address it next offseason because you've had terrible luck. Now, I'm not saying spend back-to-back first-round picks on a quarterback. That is not what I'm saying. But I think you should go out, sign a bridge quarterback in free agency within the next 2 years. And then with this, because you're going to have one of the top picks. I mean, you're already 0-7. I know we're not even technically halfway at the season, but you're going to have a top 5 pick, the New York Jets will. So I would spend that on the highest rated quarterback. And that is when you start to build. And then I would spend your second round pick on an offensive lineman. I would spend your third round pick, honestly, on an offensive lineman. And then maybe your fourth, maybe draft a receiver. I wouldn't worry too much about the running back position if you do lose Breece Hall. Now, obviously, Breece Hall, it would suck to lose him, but I feel like you could go ahead and sign a guy in free agency and get away with that. If you really can't, worry until the next year to get running back. The New York Jets need to figure out their quarterback situation. This is becoming damn near almost 3 decades. 3 decades, 30 years. That is older than me. Of bad New York Jets quarterback play continuously. Have they had a few good seasons here and there? Yes. But I'm saying a consistent starter where everyone's like, like how everyone viewed Drew Brees. It was like, well, the Saints don't need a quarterback because Drew Brees is there and he's been there for like 20 years and he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. The Jets haven't had someone like that. Now, I'm not saying they need to go out and get Drew Brees, but they at least need to go out and get a superstar. I mean, even the Colts were able to figure it out by giving Daniel Jones another chance. Now, obviously, you were hoping for that type of resurgence from Justin Fields, but that is not quite happening. And do you really blame Justin Fields? Like, let's be honest, even if you're not a big believer in Justin Fields' talent, Garrett Wilson has only been playing 2 weeks. Breece Hall has been injured. You don't have a good offensive line. I mean, and this is where Aaron Glenn is going to get a lot of slack as well, too. A lot of people are saying they should fire Aaron Glenn. You cannot. Giving up on a first-year head coach is stupid. It's absolutely stupid. Unless he basically is a terrorist, I wouldn't fire him because you got to think about how long it takes to build a culture. It takes a little bit. So the New York Jets should not fire Aaron Glenn. I would give him 2 more years for sure. You think about the first year when Dan Campbell came in there, they did not start kicking ass right away. They went 3-14 with Dan Campbell's first year there, and then I think they barely squeaked into a playoff spot, or they barely missed a playoff spot in the second year. They went 9-8, and then the third year, which everyone knows, obviously, they went 14-3, kicked everyone's ass. So it does take a second for a head coach to get their feet wet, to build up a connection and a kind of consistency in the National Football League. So I guess to answer this video's full question, yes, the New York Jets should restart the rebuild. Because if you're able to get a good haul for Garrett Wilson, which I would assume you would at least get a first-round pick and a decent player, I would hope so, since he's one of the better receivers in the game, but he's fairly young. I mean, you can't really turn that down when you are definitely not making playoffs this year. So it looks like the drought's going to continue. Next year, who knows? Because you don't even have a quarterback situation figured out. And the year after that, who knows? Because you don't have a quarterback situation figured out. It takes a second for a quarterback to also get their feet wet and build consistency in the NFL. Now, someone like Sauce Gardner, that is going to be tough to lose. That is going to be a hard pill to swallow because that is a generational talent in my eyes. But if he is okay with staying on the team just because he doesn't care about winning and he just cares about money, then you're good. If he cares about winning, try to ship him, but I would not trade Sauce Gardner if I'm not getting a big return. So, yeah, that answers the question of should the New York Jets restart their rebuild? Yes, but they actually need to be smart about it. I wouldn't go. Keep in mind, I'm not saying next week they should go trade all these guys. They need to figure out this quarterback situation. So they need to have at least somewhat of a decent roster when they draft this quarterback. Because let's be real, if they have Justin Fields going out on that field, I think they're stupid. Now, I wouldn't mind it as a backup, but as their starter, I think that's just flat out stupid. But anyway, that is my forte on if the New York Jets should restart their rebuild. And I mean, yeah. I mean, I am a Raiders fan. I've stated that many times on this channel. But you could use the same theory for them. Should the Raiders restart their rebuild? And I would agree. I mean, yes. I mean, other than Brock Bowers, I wouldn't try to trade him. And Ashton Genty, obviously. I would try my best not to trade them, but just about anybody else, I'd be like, yep, they have a price tag. If you give me a good enough offer, they could go play. They could go suit up for your team. That is my opinion, at least. So that is if the New York Jets should restart the rebuild. Any Jets fans watching, which probably is, go ahead and comment down what you guys believe. Go ahead. I feel like you guys would agree with me, right? Like, it's been almost 3 decades. 3 fucking decades of bad quarterback play. You need to find your quarterback. You need to find a quarterback that is reliable for at least 5 years. And the New York Jets have not had that in a very, very, very long time. So, very long awaited consistency and just actually being good at football from the New York Jets. But, yeah. So, should the New York Jets restart the rebuild? My final answer is yes. Just do it smart. Do not trade all your players right this second. That is not what I said. But if you're going to get enough offer for someone like Sauce and Garrett Wilson, yes. Breece Hall, I would. I would trade Breece Hall. He's already had injury issues, which, a lot of people can't help. But, I mean, it's never a good thing to have injury issues. He's very unhappy with the organization in general. So I say you go ahead and you let him walk. And I'm not one of those people who just straight up shit on the running back position, but let's be honest, it's a little bit easier to find a running back later in the draft. If you sign a mid running back in free agency, they'll just do good. It's just easier to find running backs than quarterbacks. Now, I hate those people who are thinking, oh, running back's just not even valuable at all. Those people do not know football whatsoever. But, yeah, that is my opinion on it. All right, that's around the end of the video. Make sure you guys go and leave a like and subscribe if you guys enjoy NFL and NHL content. Now, normally I would have 2 co-hosts alongside me, but every now and then I'll just make a video by myself if it's a little shorter mini episode. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to rate us 5 out of 5 stars. YouTube, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Face mask out.